Dive into the chaotic love lives of the immortal gods, beings with boundless power yet utterly clueless when it comes to untangling their own messy family trees. Before we plunge into this divine soap opera, where wives double as sisters, mistresses are somehow nieces, and Zeus's escapades could fill a conquest calendar, do me a quick favor, smash that like button and hit subscribe. Ready? Let's unravel the madness. Tonight, we plunge into a realm where gods are immortal, grudges burn eternal, and the family tree is less a noble oak and more a twisted knot of cousin on cousin calamity pulsing with raw, untamed passion. You step softly through the golden gates of Mount Olympus, heart thrumming with anticipation. The air is heavy, charged with the kind of silence that hums before a family reunion explodes into chaos. The clouds beneath your feet cradle you like a warm, just laundered towel, and a weightless thrill courses through you, as if you're on the cusp of uncovering gossip so scandalous it could rewrite the stars. And oh, you are. You're about to meet the gods, not the serene, marble-carved deities of legend, but flawed, fiery beings tangled in drama, their hearts ablaze with reckless desire and boundary-blind love. These are not gods who swipe right with restraint. No, their libidos could crash every dating app in existence. Take Zeus, the king of the gods, thunder wielder, bearded sovereign. If Olympus had an HR department, his name would be scrawled across every warning poster, his exploits the stuff of divine scandal. His divine equipment, it's the pulsing heartbeat of Greek mythology itself, outpacing wars, plagues, and prophecies with its relentless conquests. It deserves its own shrine, its own constellation, its own restraining order. Yet, somehow, it's always unleashed, sparking chaos across the cosmos. The first thing you notice on Olympus isn't the gleaming temples or the ambrosia-laden feasts. It's the whispers, gods murmuring about gods, affairs that shatter hearts, betrayals that echo through eternity, secret children tucked away in mortal realms. And, oh yes, someone just married their sister. Again. So, dim the lights, let a soft breeze hum through an open window, and sink into this journey with me. Before you settle in, take a moment to like this tale and subscribe if my storytelling stirs your soul even a little. And if you're still with me in a few minutes, drop your location and the time where you are. There's something oddly comforting about knowing we're all wide-eyed, chasing myths at 2:47 a.m. together. Now, back to Olympus. You gaze at the marble columns soaring into the heavens and wonder, with a quiet ache, how did it all come to this? The gods didn't start with a blank canvas. No, they were born from a cosmic family feud so tangled it makes mortal dramas look tame. At the heart of it all is Zeus, the big guy. He didn't inherit his throne with a polite handshake. His father, Cronus, was the original I loathe my offspring archetype. Cronus had a chilling ritual, swallowing his children whole. Why? A prophecy whispered that one would dethrone him. It's peak Greek logic. Hear a warning, devour everything it touches. Picture the first Olympian family portrait. Cronus, smug in the center, surrounded by empty cradles and a suspiciously bloated belly. Not exactly a heartwarming start. But then came Zeus. Hidden at birth, nurtured in secret, raised on goat's milk and nymphs' lullabies, a hero forged in shadows. When he grew strong, he didn't just rebel, he revolted. He poisoned his father, forcing Cronus to retch up his siblings. Hera, Poseidon, Hades, Demeter, Hestia, all emerging fully grown, slick with divine bile, and utterly bewildered. That, dear friend, was the first family reunion, a messy, miraculous mess. From there, Zeus seized the throne and declared, with all the hubris of a god, this kingdom needs more chaos. Instead of seeking love beyond the divine gene pool, he turned to Hera, his sister, not a fleeting fling, but a full-on courtship, complete with trickery and a transformation into a cuckoo bird. Because nothing screams romance like feathers and deception. He wooed her until she relented, binding their fates in marriage. Hera, goddess of marriage, wears the irony like a crown. She's both Zeus's queen and the keeper of his endless vendettas, her heart a storm of love and fury that will rage for millennia. So here you stand, adrift in Olympus, watching gods weave their lives into a tapestry of ignored boundaries and reckless passion. It's not just governance, it's an eternal, intoxicating episode of Keeping Up with the Olympians, where every choice twists the knife deeper into their divine drama. And trust me, it only gets wilder from here. You barely cross the shimmering golden gates of Olympus before it hits you. This isn't just a dysfunctional family. It's the original template for every chaotic group chat, every holiday feast that ends in a tear-soaked shouting match, and every suspiciously familiar-looking cousin stealing glances at a wedding. And it all kicks off with Cronus, Zeus's oh-so-charming father figure and full-time cannibal. Let's rewind a bit. You're standing in an era before Olympus, before thunderclaps, before Hera's simmering side-eye, a time when the sky god Uranus ruled the roost and everything was uncomfortably fertile. He and Gaia, Mother Earth, churned out kids like a cosmic assembly line, so many that they were crammed into Gaia's womb like mismatched furniture in a storage unit. Literally. Uranus refused to let them see the light of day. Romantic, huh? Gaia, fed up with playing unpaid storage for her offspring, slipped a gleaming scythe into the hands of her youngest son, Cronus. Not some poetic metaphor, a real, razor-sharp, aim-for-dad's crown jewel scythe. And Cronus? Oh, he delivered. He ambushed dear old Uranus and sliced off his divine manhood in what can only be called the universe's first severance package. The severed bits soared through the sky like a grotesque boomerang, splashed into the ocean, and poof! From the frothy waves emerged Aphrodite, goddess of beauty, born from floating sky testicle foam. You gaze out at the glittering waves, and it dawns on you. Greek mythology doesn't ease you in. It grabs you by the sandals and screams, "We're family!" even when the DNA map looks like a circuit board fried in a lightning storm. Back to Cronus. Having seized the throne and traumatized every deity in earshot, Cronus decided he wasn't about to be dethroned like his dad. So when his wife Rhea started popping out kids, he ate them, swallowed them whole like divine flavored Tic Tacs. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, down they went, one by one. Rhea, after watching 5 of her children become her husband's dinner, finally snapped. When Zeus was born, she swaddled a rock in baby blankets and handed it to Cronus. And Cronus, apparently too busy ruling to check his meal, chomped down on the stone and carried on like nothing happened. Meanwhile, baby Zeus was whisked away to a secret cave on Crete, raised by nymphs and a magical goat named Amalthea. Look, if your childhood pet is a goat pumping out ambrosia and thunderbolts, you're basically destined for epic, unhinged greatness. Fast forward. Zeus grows up, storms back home, and spikes his dad's drink with poison. Cronus heaves, spewing out all 5 of his fully grown children, who emerge slick with divine stomach acid, utterly baffled and furious. You watch from a safe distance as Zeus rallies his siblings. They arm up and wage war against Cronus and his Titan posse. The clash lasts 10 years, a decade of godly civil war, with mountains hurled like dodgeballs and oceans boiling over like a kettle left on too long. When the dust settles, Zeus claims the sky. Poseidon takes the seas. Hades, poor, unlucky Hades, gets stuck with the underworld. A cosmic real estate lottery, and he draws the smoky, short straw. And here's where things get spicy. You think that after overthrowing a baby-eating dad and being vomited into adulthood, the gods might want to reset the family vibe. You know, therapy, boundaries, maybe a strict no dating your siblings rule. Nope. Zeus locks eyes with his sister Hera and thinks, jackpot. He decides the new Olympian era will kick off with a wedding to his sister. And he doesn't just woo her, he tricks her, shape-shifting into a pitiful cuckoo bird caught in a storm, fluttering into her lap like a sopping wet dating profile begging for sympathy. Hera, being the goddess of marriage, can't resist the symbolism. She scoops up the trembling bird and bam! Zeus morphs back into his full, bearded, larger-than-life self, flashing a grin that says, "Gotcha." Hera sighs. "Fine, let's do this." And just like that, the king and queen of the gods tie the knot, in the clouds, with their entire family watching, the same family Zeus just freed from their dad's digestive tract. The same family is now pretending this isn't the weirdest wedding in cosmic history. You try not to gawk as they exchange vows over ambrosia, everyone politely ignoring that their wedding cake deserves a warning label, crafted with 100% shared DNA. You settle into the wedding reception of Zeus and Hera, and let me tell you, it's a spectacle. Harps hum softly in the background, nectar flows like a river of divine wine, and ambrosia is plated with dainty fig garnishes. Everyone's grinning too wide, laughing too loud, and definitely pretending they didn't catch Zeus yesterday trying to sweet-talk a nymph disguised as an oak tree. But the real showstopper? The seating chart. You scan the Olympian banquet tables and realize this place has zero boundaries when it comes to family ties. There's a table marked cousins who dated twice, another labeled offspring of swan-related incidents, and you, poor guest, are wedged between a cyclops with a wandering eye and a minor wind god who's allergic to commitment. This is just the opening act. Zeus and Hera, now the official sibling spouses of Olympus, launch their reign as the ultimate power couple. Don't be fooled by the god-tier robes or the crackling lightning bolts. This marriage makes Game of Thrones look like a wholesome rom-com. Hera is fierce, proud, loyal to a fault, and painfully aware that her husband runs on a volatile mix of hormones and terrible choices. Zeus, meanwhile, seems hell-bent on turning immortality into a personal challenge. How many mortals, nymphs, or random clouds can he charm before the ambrosia course? You can almost hear Hera's inner monologue on a loop. If he turns into a swan one more time, I'll pluck every feather from his godly backside. Because Zeus, you see, isn't satisfied with being married to the literal goddess of marriage. Oh no, he's just getting started. His seduction playbook includes, but isn't limited to, morphing into a bull, a shower of golden rain, an eagle, and inexplicably, a cascade of coins. You can just picture the pickup lines. Mind if I drizzle onto your windowsill, darling? Ever met a white bull with stellar credit and daddy issues? Each fling leaves a trail. A demigod here, a nymph-turned tree there, a very confused village everywhere. And always, always, a Hera ready to burn the cosmos to ash. Let's take a moment to salute Hera's rage. She's not wrong. Her husband cheats more often than mortals breathe. But instead of smiting Zeus, she unleashes her fury on the women, their kids, or entire towns, raised, rebuilt, and dripping with divine spite. You sip your godly nectar, avoiding eye contact as Hera casually transforms a bystander into a cow. Their home life? No less chaotic. They have kids together, some divine, all problematic. Ares, the god of war, exists to roar, punch walls, and make out with his aunt. Hebe, the cupbearer, endlessly refills nectar while silently questioning her career path. Hephaestus, the blacksmith god, is either their joint creation or Hera's solo project, depending on the myth. Either way, she yeeted him off Olympus for being aesthetically challenged, which, let's be honest, isn't winning her any parenting awards. And yet, despite the cheating, the screaming matches that sparked literal thunderstorms, and the awkward silences at the divine dinner table, they never divorce, not once. Olympus doesn't do therapy. It thrives on eternal, passive-aggressive warfare. Spend one afternoon on Olympus, and you'll witness at least 3 godly meltdowns. Hera turns a servant into a weasel for daring to compliment Zeus's beard. Zeus blames Poseidon for a thunderstorm he definitely caused in a fit of pique. Ares smashes a lyre over his own head because someone called him emotionally backed up. It's exhausting, divine, chaotic, and somehow still more functional than your average neighborhood association meeting. Yet, despite the dysfunction, the gods keep throwing parties, they sit through endless banquets, they act like this is normal. And maybe it is. Maybe when you're immortal, puked out of your father's stomach, married to your sister, and your uncle is simultaneously your landlord, therapist, and the guy who might have flirted with your horse, maybe then this is what normal looks like. After downing your 3rd goblet of ambrosia and dodging a panic attack from watching Ares attempt to headbutt a marble statue into submission, you do what any sane visitor to Olympus would. You slip away from the reception, craving a sliver of peace. You wander into the divine courtyard, dreaming of fresh air and a moment to collect yourself. Instead, you nearly collide with Aphrodite. And when I say collide, I mean she glides down in slow motion, radiating a glow that makes the stars jealous, accompanied by a flock of doves and sultry harp music that seems to materialize from thin air. Instantly, you feel like you showed up in sweatpants to a cosmic gala, unqualified to even glance at her sandals. She is, quite literally, desire personified, which is ironic considering she was born from, well, let's call it the splash zone of her grandfather's airborne anatomy. Yes, the goddess of love and beauty didn't arrive via a conventional birth. She rose from sea foam, which itself was conjured when Cronus lobbed Uranus's divine equipment into the ocean. You blink at the mental image, a severed piece of God hits salt water, and poof! Out comes a woman so stunning she makes swans blush and roses wilt in envy. Greek mythology, rewriting the rules of biology with a sledgehammer. Aphrodite's married, by the way, to Hephaestus, the blacksmith god with a limp, a forge, and the patience of a saint forged in fire. He needs it because while he's toiling away, crafting divine weapons beneath the mountains, Aphrodite's out canoodling with Ares, the god of war, who's basically a walking temper tantrum with biceps. Their affair, subtle as a lightning bolt to the face, and they get caught. How? Hephaestus, done with turning a blind eye, rigs a trap, a golden net, woven so fine it's invisible, draped over the bed. When Aphrodite and Ares dive into their not-so-secret wrestling match, the net snaps shut, trapping them mid-passion, naked, flailing, stuck like divine flypaper. Hephaestus doesn't just smirk, he throws open the doors and invites all of Olympus to the show. It's the cosmos' first reality TV episode, Caught in the Act, Olympian edition. You peek through your fingers as Zeus roars with laughter, nearly dropping his thunderbolt. Apollo lets out a wolf whistle. Poseidon critiques the net's craftsmanship like he's on a home improvement show. Hera rolls her eyes so hard they nearly orbit the moon. It's excruciatingly awkward, and yet no one learns a thing. Aphrodite doesn't pause her escapades. Ares keeps strutting like he invented lust. Hephaestus shrugs and returns to his forge. The whole debacle is just another Tuesday on Olympus. This is how family drama operates up here. Nothing gets resolved. Therapy? Not a chance. Instead, divine pettiness weaves itself into the fabric of the cosmos, sparking storms and shaping legends. You realize Olympus doesn't have affairs or betrayals. They have traditions. Traditions like turning your ex into a laurel tree because you dodged your advances. Traditions like tucking your illegitimate kid into an enchanted cradle and yeeting it off a cliff to test its survival skills. Traditions like nursing grudges so fierce they birth hurricanes. You sink onto a marble bench, watching Artemis, goddess of the hunt and eternal virgin, shoot daggers at Aphrodite across the courtyard with a glare sharp enough to slice moonlight. You catch Hermes, the messenger god, flirting with a wind nymph while slyly pocketing her sandals. And there's Dionysus, half drunk, trying to teach a grapevine to twirl in a cha-cha. Somehow, none of this counts as scandalous. The only scandal is pretending you didn't see it. You start to wonder, are the gods just terrible at love? Or is this what happens when immortality makes consequences feel like optional side quests? When you can't die, can't leave, and everyone around you is your ex, your cousin, or both, maybe love just becomes another myth. Something to gossip about over nectar punch while your heart's wounds still shimmer like divine scars. You lean back as the Olympian sky darkens into a velvet evening. And somewhere behind you, you hear the faint rustle of a golden net being folded, ready for its next performance. You wake up the next morning, if you can call it morning on Olympus, where time feels like a suggestion, with the hazy sense that you've just binged a sacred soap opera with a cosmic budget and zero chill. Like, divine drama, no costume changes required. Stretching your legs, you drift into a quieter wing of the palace, where the air hums with less scandal and more brooding. The faint scent of burnt offerings and existential regret leads you to Hades, lord of the underworld, sulking in a corner like a goth poet crashing a beach rave. Let's get one thing straight. Hades didn't sign up for this job. When the gods carved up the cosmos after toppling Cronus, Zeus snagged the sky, all flash, thunder, and ego. Poseidon claimed the seas, moody, dramatic, perfect for brooding trident selfies. Hades, he got stuck with the basement. Not just any basement, the subfloor of reality itself. No windows, just rivers of wailing souls, ceilings dripping with bones, and a three-headed dog with enough separation anxiety to make your therapist quit. You watch him stir a goblet of molten despair, shooting glares toward Olympus like a man who was ghosted from the divine group chat. The resentment radiates off him. This is the face of someone who'd rather burn a team-building memo than attend the meeting, with a mental spreadsheet of everyone he's permanently done with. Yet, for all his dark and stormy vibes, Hades is, dare we say it, one of the steadier gods. He's not shapeshifting into animals to woo strangers. He's not cheating every time the moon waxes. He's not hurling thunderbolts because his ambrosia was served lukewarm. No, he's just bitter, sharp-tongued, and punctual to a fault. Which brings us to Persephone. Here's the story. Hades spots her, goddess of spring, daughter of Demeter, a walking bouquet of wildflowers, and thinks that's the one. So, in classic underworld fashion, he rips open the earth and snatches her straight to his realm. No hi, how's it going, no coffee date, just pure abduction as a love language energy. In today's world, that move would land him a restraining order and a true crime podcast. Back then, it birthed a seasonal myth. Demeter, Persephone's mom and goddess of agriculture with a side of helicopter parenting, goes full meltdown. She scours the earth, yells at the sky, halts all plant growth, and flips spring into a barren winter. No crops, no harvest, mortals are starving, trading stale bread like it's gold, while Demeter holds the world hostage until her daughter's found. Meanwhile, Persephone's in the underworld, sizing up Hades and wondering if he's a tortured artist with a heart of gold or just a guy with a dungeon chic aesthetic and zero social skills. Eventually Zeus intervenes, not out of compassion, but because hungry mortals are starting to stink up his view. He hammers out a deal. Persephone splits her time, half the year above ground with Demeter, half below with Hades. And so seasons are born. Spring and summer, Persephone's with her mom. Flowers explode, orchards burst, sunshine spills everywhere. Autumn and winter, she's back with Hades. Everything withers, the world grays out, and Demeter rage quits her divine duties. It's poetic, it's tragic, it's oddly administrative. But let's unpack the family dynamics because they're a mess. Zeus is Persephone's uncle, Hades is her uncle and her husband, Demeter's her mom and Zeus's sister, so Persephone's simultaneously the niece, wife, and daughter-in-law of Olympus's entire C-suite. You try sketching a family tree and it spontaneously combusts from the sheer chaos. Down in the underworld, Persephone adapts. She plants ghostly orchids, teaches Cerberus to roll over, and starts to savor the quiet. Hades, for all his kidnapping antics, treats her with more consistency than most Olympians show anyone. And here's the thing, this damp, shadowy underworld, reeking of regret, feels weirdly more real than the polished halls of Olympus. Down here, no one's pretending to be a hero. There's no golden veneer, just a guy with a crown of shadows and a girl who's made peace with her bizarre seasonal marriage. You perch on the banks of the river Styx, watching souls drift by, and think, Hades might be the only god not faking it. Sure, he is moody as hell, but at least he's not a serial shapeshifter with a fetish for feathers. Cough, Zeus. The next time someone asks what love looks like, skip the roses and sunsets, point to Persephone, sipping pomegranate wine, hand in hand with the god of the dead, whispering, it's messy, but it's ours. You emerge from the underworld with a newfound appreciation for goth love stories and emotionally grounded hell kings. As you float back to the dazzling heights of Olympus, a question nags at you. If Hades is the brooding, responsible brother with a soul-filled cave, and Zeus is the lust-driven sky lord with zero self-control, where does Poseidon fit in? Oh, Poseidon, the middle brother, god of the seas, master of storms, tsunamis, and whatever unmentionable chaos brews when the tides get rowdy. Picture that cousin who drowns himself in cologne, rolls up in a chariot pulled by electric eels, and has a temper that could flatten a coastal village, which, by the way, he's done multiple times. At first, he seems laid back. Salt-crusted hair, eyes like a stormy sea, trident always one twitch away from a stab. But don't let the beach bum vibe fool you. This guy once whipped up horses from seafoam just to impress a nymph. Did it work? Nope. She turned into a fish and bolted. Undeterred, Poseidon kept at it. Nymphs, mortals, giants, monsters, he's wooed them all, sometimes as a river, a stallion, or, in one baffling instance, a sentient wave. You start to suspect the gods don't shapeshift for kicks. They do it to dodge the cosmic paternity test. Take Medusa, for example. She started as a stunning priestess in Athena's temple, famed for her flowing hair and a vow of chastity. That vow? Like catnip to Poseidon. So, he drags her into the temple and, let's just say, things happen that desecrate both her and Athena's sacred rug. Athena, ever the queen of deflecting blame, doesn't touch Poseidon. Instead, she curses Medusa, turning her into a gorgon with snake hair and a face that petrifies anyone who dares look. All because she was in the wrong place when a sea god got handsy. Welcome to Olympus, where consequences skip the guilty and land squarely on the nearest bystander. Poseidon's offspring are a whole other mess. Some are sea monsters, some are giants. One's a cyclops who forges thunderbolts for Zeus. Another's Theseus, who might also have a mortal dad. Poseidon's either claiming cool kids for clout or genuinely can't remember which wave spawned which child. Then there's his feud with Athena over Athens. You'd think gods would be above squabbling over city naming rights, but no. Poseidon struts in, slams his trident into the ground, and conjures a saltwater spring. Athena, cool as a breeze, gifts an olive tree. The Athenians pick the tree. Poseidon's been salty about it for 3 millennia. You stand at Olympus's edge, overhearing him grumble into the ocean. Olives? Olives? I gave them a spring. Have they ever tasted salt water? You keep quiet. Your kneecaps are too precious. For all his oceanic swagger and questionable aquatic antics, Poseidon's not the worst god, nor the best. He's just the middle child caught between Zeus's chaos and Hades' gloom. He doesn't eat his kids like Cronus or zap lovers mid-smooch like Zeus. He just wants mortals to fear his storms, thank him for fish, and give him props for inventing horses. He brings it up constantly. Enjoying that cavalry? You're welcome. My idea. Centaurs? Yeah, I had a hand in that, kind of. That guy who drowned after mouthing off to me? Totally his fault. Back on the cloud-draped heights of Olympus, you survey the divine scene. The family tree no longer resembles a tree. It's a tangled bowl of a cosmic spaghetti, knotted with gods, marrying cousins, seducing siblings, and spawning demigods like they're checking off a mythological bingo card. You start to think the sea isn't the only thing that's deep, dark, and teeming with creatures who probably shouldn't be reproducing with each other. You're halfway through your Olympian getaway, and your brain's starting to acclimate. At first, the tangled web of incestuous marriages, shape-shifting seductions, and divine shade-throwing felt like stumbling into an R-rated family reunion in a marble penthouse. But now, it's just another Tuesday on Olympus. Today's drama swirls around Demeter, goddess of grain, harvest, and weaponized seasonal depression. Demeter is intense. Picture a divine mom who'd knit you a sweater in the middle of a volcano eruption, shove organic quinoa down your throat, and guilt trip you into staying home forever. Her vibe screams, I birthed you, I own you. Her pride and joy? Persephone, her daughter with, Zeus. That Zeus. Again, making Persephone both Demeter's daughter and niece. At this point, you don't even blink at the family tree's knots. Demeter's bond with Persephone is the kind of clingy that keeps therapists in business. She hovers, she protects, she probably enchanted Persephone's sandals with a tracking spell. So when Hades, uncle and underworld CEO, snatches Persephone into his gloomy domain, Demeter's divine sanity implodes. You've never seen rage like this. Not Zeus's thunderbolts, not Poseidon's tsunamis. This is a quiet, bone-chilling fury that starves the world. Demeter doesn't scream or throw tantrums. She just shuts down Earth's food supply. No wheat, no barley, not even a sad little fig. Mortals starve, kings pile up offerings, temples choke on incense, and Demeter, she cloaks herself in disguise, wandering the earth, grieving her daughter, and refusing to let a single seed sprout until Persephone's back in her arms. Zeus, who's technically Persephone's dad, uncle, and the root of all cosmic dysfunction, finally steps in. Not out of fatherly love. Oh, please. The mortal prayers are just getting on his nerves, and the weather's been trash. A divine deal is brokered. Persephone splits her year, half with Hades in the underworld, half with Demeter on the surface. Why? Because she nibbled 6 pomegranate seeds while below. Apparently, in Olympian fine print, snacking equals a binding contract. And so the seasons are born. When Persephone resurfaces, the world erupts in color. Birds serenade, trees burst into bloom, Demeter throws lavish picnics. She's radiant, baking artisanal breads and humming creepy lullabies while polishing her scythe. But when Persephone heads back to Hades, Demeter morphs into a horticultural tyrant. The sun fades, leaves drop like bad habits, and the soil itself says, "I'm done." Winter descends and the earth sulks in solidarity with her grief. It's the universe's most awkward custody arrangement, played out every year like a cosmic soap opera. You stroll through Olympus's gardens during Persephone's mom months, and it's disgustingly perfect. Flowers bloom on fast forward, fruits swell to bursting, and even the bees seem drunk on nectar. Demeter's in her element, hosting brunches, weaving garlands, and radiating smug maternal bliss. But the second Persephone dips back to the underworld, Demeter goes full scorched earth. The sun dims, trees shed their leaves like they're fleeing a crime scene, and the ground itself checks out. It's less a season, more a divine tantrum. The takeaway? Never mess with a mother's heartbreak. Also, maybe slap a warning label on those pomegranates. Eat at your own risk. Still, you can't shake the absurdity. Zeus is Persephone's dad and uncle, Hades is her kidnapper husband uncle, and the weather hinges on whether someone snacked on forbidden fruit. The Greek gods didn't invent logic, they invented plot twists so wild they'd make a screenwriter blush. Through it all, mortals keep praying, planting, and suffering, blaming earthquakes on someone's divine mood swing. You sip your ambrosia, scanning the chaos of Olympus. This is a place where harvests depend on feelings, seasons hinge on snacks, and family reunions need armed guards and a crisis hotline. Yet, you can't look away. Because beneath the madness, there's a strange, raw beauty. In every god's rage, grief, lust, and love, there's this exaggerated, dysfunctional mirror of humanity. They're immortal, sure. But emotionally, they're just as messy as us. You find yourself drifting back to the grand hall of Olympus, weaving past towering urns brimming with nectar and divine olives no mortal taste buds could handle. In a corner, nursing a face that screams, "I was yeeted off a mountain as a baby," sits Hephaestus, the god of fire, forges, and being criminally underappreciated. Hephaestus is a walking Greek tragedy, forged in rejection, born to Hera, maybe with Zeus, maybe not, depending on the myth's mood. What's consistent? Hera took one look at her newborn son and thought, hard pass, before chucking him off Mount Olympus like a flaming shot put. You'd assume godhood comes with a no firing clause, but not in this dysfunctional dynasty. He plummets for a full day, crashes into the sea, shatters his legs, hence the limp. Does he quit? Never. This is Hephaestus. He rolls up his soot-stained sleeves and gets to work. He builds a forge, then a palace, then a squad of magical automatons to help him get around. Yep, robots in ancient Greek myth, because why not? Soon, he's crafting every weapon, throne, and enchanted bauble the gods could dream up. Thunderbolts, chariots with flame decals, a golden net to catch cheating spouses. Hephaestus is the guy. You'd think that'd earn him some respect, right? No. Despite his genius, Hephaestus is treated like Olympus's glorified maintenance guy. Broken scepter? Call Hef. Need a celestial ride with spinning rims? Hef's got you. Want to trap your unfaithful wife and her war god side piece in a net for a divine reality show? He's already sketching the schematics. Speaking of his wife, that's Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty who makes stars dim in shame. The same Aphrodite who's been caught in a very public, very sweaty affair with Ares, the god of war, rage, and protein shakes left in gym lockers. Let's unpack that. Hephaestus didn't pick Aphrodite. The gods arranged it like some cosmic HR move. Hey, Hef, You're useful, but not exactly cover model material, so here's the hottest goddess as a consolation prize. Nobody bothered to consult Aphrodite. So, while Hephaestus hammers out divine masterpieces, possibly including the prototype for an espresso machine, Aphrodite's off with Ares, turning every Olympian nook into their personal hookup spot. Hephaestus finds out. Does he weep? Yell? No, he engineers. He crafts an unbreakable net. Gossamer fine, invisible, pressure activated. One night, Aphrodite and Ares slip into bed, thinking they're in the clear. Snap. The net clamps down, trapping them mid-romp, naked and flailing like fish in a golden web. Hephaestus doesn't just gloat, he summons the entire pantheon for a front row seat. Picture the divine group chat blowing up. Zeus is cackling so hard he nearly chokes on his ambrosia. Hermes drops one-liners. Apollo's already composing a diss track. Poseidon, squinting at the net, asks for a copy for totally unrelated reasons. Hera's glare could melt marble, like she's ready to delete Olympus from existence. But even after this cosmic walk of shame, nothing changes. Ares keeps sneaking over, Aphrodite keeps straying, and Hephaestus, he limps back to his forge. Here's the thing. Hephaestus may hobble, may be mocked, may have been tossed off a mountain by his own mom, but he never stops creating. He builds beauty in a world that treats him like rusty scrap. And that makes him the most human god on this chaotic peak. You sit with him for a moment. He's quiet, focused, dusted in ash and brilliance. He hands you a glowing bronze gear, shares a tale about trapping the sun in a jar just to see if he could. And it hits you. In the soap opera of incest, betrayal, and godly egos, Hephaestus is the unsung genius holding Olympus together, not with thunder or charm, but with fire, grit, and a solid gold middle finger to the haters. You've now gawked at a philandering sky god, a brooding underworld lord, and a forge god with a lifetime supply of abandonment issues. So naturally, it's time to crash an Olympian family scandal that's been simmering for eons. You slip into a golden corridor where the vibe is tense. Whispers slither through the air, nervous giggles echo, and there's a faint metallic clink, the sound of gossip being hammered into eternal legend. Enter Aphrodite and Ares, the most predictable, combustible, and gloriously unhinged couple in divine history. She's the goddess of love, beauty, and ghosting your texts mid-conversation. He's the god of war, chiseled abs, and emotions so unavailable they might as well be locked in a vault. They don't talk things out. They don't journal their feelings. They don't even try for a healthy argument. They just crash, physically, emotionally, and occasionally into furniture. You've heard about the infamous net incident where Hephaestus caught them mid-tryst. Did it stop them? Please. If anything, the public shaming only cranked up their cosmic chemistry. You catch them in the middle of a shouting match, Ares brandishing a sword for no apparent reason, Aphrodite inspecting her nails like she's already over this fight and half of reality itself. Then, bam, they're locked in a kiss so intense it topples columns and shatters vases like they're filming a divine action rom-com. Somehow, this volatile cocktail of lust and chaos produces offspring, a lot of them. First up, Eros, aka Cupid, the pint-sized god of weaponized infatuation. He flits around, firing arrows at mortals to spark love stories that inevitably end in chaos. Ares tries to bond by teaching him swordplay. Eros prefers causing romantic meltdowns at weddings. They settle on shooting arrows at unsuspecting grooms for father-son bonding. Then there's Phobos and Deimos, twin gods of fear and terror, because nothing says healthy family like kids who embody panic and dread. Picture them at school picture day. Say cheese, cue, snarls, and explosions. Aphrodite's also got kids with other gods, mortals, and, depending on the myth, a random guy who got upgraded to godhood because his abs were that good. Scholars still bicker over whether Aphrodite ever truly loved anyone, or if she just sprinkled love like cosmic glitter for the vibes. And then there's Harmonia, goddess of harmony, born from the most unharmonious duo in the pantheon. You meet her once. She's radiant, soft-spoken, dressed like she stepped out of a celestial mood board. Naturally, she's engaged to a mortal prince fated to slither away as a snake. Because, of course. But Ares, he's the most insecure god on Olympus. He's war incarnate, yet emotionally, he's just a kid in armor chasing validation. He craves Zeus's approval, but Zeus treats him like the family's rabid guard dog. He longs for Hera's praise, but she barely remembers his name. He pines for Aphrodite's loyalty, but she's busy flirting with Apollo via divine DMs. Ares doesn't win battles with cunning. He charges headfirst, swinging hard, and prays it works out. You spot him polishing his spear, grumbling about Achilles and the Trojan War, not because he lost, but because no one let him deliver his epic chest-thumping monologue. It dawns on you. While other gods weave complex schemes, Ares just feels big, loud, shirtless emotions that Olympus doesn't know how to handle. Even Hephaestus, his romantic rival, has given up caring. Let him swing his sword, he mutters, tinkering with a glowing gear. At least he's not sobbing in the pantry again. You chuckle, then realize he's dead serious. Ares is a product of war and divine pettiness, raised by gods who only reward bloodshed and vengeance. No wonder he thinks a punch is a pickup line. You watch him from a distance, fuming, proud, trying so hard to act like he doesn't notice Aphrodite slipping out of the party with Hermes. Again, this is the most powerful family in the cosmos, and not one of them has cracked the code on communication. No therapy, no heart-to-hearts, just enchanted weapons, immortal grudges, and centuries of bottled-up tension. It's oddly relatable. You survey Olympus and think, if these gods can't figure out love, maybe the rest of us are doing just fine with our messy mortal attempts. You're emotionally drained, and you're not even a god. You've seen deities bicker over olives, sob over misplaced thunderbolts, and ensnare each other in scandalous sex nets. Just when you think Olympus can't get any messier, the golden doors groan open to welcome the extended family. Brace yourself. The 12 Olympians are already a walking soap opera, but the real chaos erupts when Zeus's other kids crash the party, spawned from mortals, nymphs, and creatures that defy the basic rules of biology. Let's just say Zeus has been prolific. He's sired more demigods than anyone can track. Scribes once tried tallying them and threw in the towel around number 70 in one city-state alone. First to catch your eye is Heracles, massive, wielding a club the size of a small tree, draped in a lion-skin cape that smells faintly of protein shakes and divine privilege. He's one of Zeus's most infamous side projects, born from a fling with a mortal woman. Definitely not Hera's kid. And wow, does Hera hold a grudge. She sends snakes to his crib when he's a baby. He strangles them with chubby infant hands. Later, she drives him mad for kicks, leading him to kill his wife and kids in a tragic frenzy. He atones with a gauntlet of impossible labors and eventually claws his way to Olympian status. Hera's response? A curt, still not a fan. Then there's Helen of Troy, the Helen whose face launched 1,000 ships and probably a few disastrous marriages. Some myths claim she's Zeus's daughter, hatched from an egg because, naturally, Zeus seduced her mother, Leda, as a swan. Yes, a swan. Picture the pickup line. I know I'm a bird right now, but trust me, I'm a catch. Somehow it works. You realize Zeus doesn't seduce, he ambushes with bizarre metaphors and prays no one asked for clarification. His offspring? A chaotic parade of mythically overburdened souls. Some wield powers, others face cursed fates. A few get turned into constellations. Most? They're just plot points, forgotten faster than you can say, stop sleeping with weather phenomena. You stumble into a divine family reunion in full swing, demigods everywhere, a kid with winged sandals who's unsure if his dad was a storm cloud or a lightning bolt, a girl who can sweet-talk snakes but flinches at her own mirror, a horse with a prince's face and the emotional bandwidth of a needy toddler. The family tree? It's not a tree anymore, it's a forest fire, blazing with tangled lineage and divine dysfunction. The worst part? Nobody knows who's related to whom. You overhear someone ask, "Are we cousins?" And another reply, "I think we're both Zeus's grandkids," via different goats. The relationships are a mess, half siblings, half mortals, half beasts. Half the pantheon qualifies as a mythological tax write-off. You ask someone how many kids Zeus has, and they hand you a scroll that unravels for 30 yards, ending with, "and probably a few more we missed." Scholars still debate whether Zeus fathered more children than there are stars, or if the Greeks just slapped his name on every hero with a chip on their shoulder and a knack for chaos. You sip your ambrosia, watching awkward hugs, confused smiles, and eerily similar jawlines. You wonder how many demigods didn't make the guest list, how many heroes grew up hoisting boulders but never got a divine birthday scroll. Then it hits you, the real tragedy: Zeus doesn't remember them all. He can't. Not even a sky god's omniscience stretches that far. When you've left a trail of that many cosmic oopsies, forgetting might be the only way to keep ruling the heavens. You retreat from the family reunion feeling like you just walked through the world's most chaotic Ancestry.com results. Half heroes, quarter gods, and at least one child born from a golden antelope that might have been Zeus on a dare. And just when your brain needs a break, in stumbles Dionysus. He's barefoot, he's shirtless, he's wearing a grapevine as a headband and hugging a jug of wine like it's his emotional support pet. He sees you, smiles, trips over nothing, offers you a sip of divine juice, then immediately forgets what he was doing and starts dancing with a tree. Welcome to the realm of the god of wine, madness, and musical theater energy. Dionysus isn't like the others. He didn't grow up on Olympus. He wasn't born with a thunderbolt in one hand and a trident in the other. No, Dionysus had what scholars would politely call a weird origin story. See, Zeus once fell in love with a mortal woman named Semele. Shocker, right? He seduced her, this time using his usual form, we think, and got her pregnant. Naturally, Hera found out. And Hera did what Hera always does, plotted psychological warfare. She disguised herself as an old woman, whispered doubts into Semele's ear, and convinced her to ask Zeus to reveal himself in his true divine form. Which, of course, mortals can't look at without spontaneously combusting. So, when Zeus appeared in full god mode, lightning, fire, cosmic sound effects, Semele exploded. Just poof, 1 minute pregnant, the next minute barbecue. But wait, the fetus, still alive? So Zeus, because he is nothing if not creatively irresponsible, sewed the baby into his own thigh. Yes, his thigh. 9 months later, ta-da! Dionysus is born out of Zeus's leg like some drunk mythological cesarean. And that's just the start of it. Dionysus grows up bouncing between worlds, raised by satyrs, tutored by nymphs, once disguised as a girl to hide from Hera. His childhood is basically a fever dream written by a wine-soaked playwright. When he comes of age, he doesn't go the usual godly route. No storm powers, no underworld throne. He goes on a road trip. He travels the earth spreading the gospel of wine, ecstasy, and losing control in the name of finding yourself. He's less divine ruler and more frat boy guru with a flair for the dramatic. He invents parties. He inspires cults. He turns pirates into dolphins because they were rude to him. You meet one of his followers, a Maenad, dancing barefoot, pupils dilated, whispering secrets to a tree stump. You ask if she's okay. She hands you a bunch of grapes and says, reality is optional. Dionysus wanders in again, holding hands with a panther and reciting poetry about the color purple. You begin to understand that his madness is not an accident. It's a strategy. Dionysus offers freedom, real, raw, frightening freedom. The freedom to break rules, to forget pain, to laugh, scream, collapse, and be reborn through chaos. He's the god of theater for a reason. Life is a play, and he's here to set the stage on fire. But behind the vine-drenched laughter and the ecstatic parties, there's loneliness. He's never quite accepted by the big gods. Zeus acknowledges him, sure, but Dionysus didn't get a throne on Olympus until much later. Some say the other gods feared him, not because he was weak, but because he reminded them of what they tried to suppress: emotion, transformation, surrender. You watch him stumble into a crowd, arms outstretched, eyes wide with joy and sadness. People follow him, not because they understand him, but because he makes them feel something. In a world of eternal rules and divine bureaucracy, Dionysus is the glitch. The divine loophole. The party you can't explain but never forget. And as you sip the wine he left behind, rich, dark, strangely infinite, you begin to feel it too. That divine ache. The edge between joy and madness. The whisper that says you are more than what you pretend to be. By now, you've lost track of time. Olympus doesn't operate on mortal hours. It operates on emotion, drama, and divine chaos. You're walking through the palace again, trying to keep your wine intake below Dionysian levels, when suddenly you hear a scream. A very specific, sharp, echoing scream. Echoing scream. And it's coming from Zeus. You follow the sound up the stairs, through a corridor lined with golden statues of himself, because of course, and there he is, king of the gods, ruler of the sky, supreme being. Curled up in a corner, clutching his head like a man whose hangover just got promoted to divine emergency. Thunder booms from his ears, his eyes glow like overcharged light bulbs. Lightning is literally leaking from his nose. And he keeps shouting, "Get it out! Get it out!" You think, possession? Cursed? Finally realizing the emotional cost of his decisions? But no, this is the story of how Athena was born. It starts, as always, with Zeus trying to outsmart a prophecy. Because someone once told him, your child will be more powerful than you. So when Métis, his first wife, goddess of wisdom and definitely smarter than him, got pregnant, Zeus panicked. And he did what every panicked man in power does. He swallowed her. Just gulp. No debate, no parenting plan, straight down the hatch like a mythological antacid. You'd think that'd be the end of it. But Métis didn't die. She lived inside his body, fully conscious, making armor and whispering ideas into his bloodstream. Fast forward a few months and Zeus begins having migraines of cosmic proportions. He calls all the gods together, demands a solution, threatens to blow up Olympus if someone doesn't fix his skull. Hephaestus, ever the practical son with a bad track record in family surgery, steps forward and does what needs to be done. He grabs an axe, raises it, and splits Zeus's head open like a ripe melon. Out bursts Athena, fully grown, wearing armor, spear in hand, helmet shining. She screams a war cry that makes mortals cry blood in their dreams. Everyone applauds. Because somehow this is considered a success. Zeus collapses into a cloud of confused thunder. Athena looks around like she's just arrived at a meeting that's already behind schedule. And the rest of the gods, they start acting like this is totally normal. Oh yeah, brain birth? That checks out. Want some wine, Tina? Like it's inside? Each one? Athena quickly becomes one of the most respected gods on Olympus. Wise, calm, strategic, goddess of wisdom, war, crafts, and reminding everyone to use their brain for once. She doesn't date, doesn't marry, doesn't chase anyone, or let herself be chased. Some call her the eternal virgin, but honestly, she just can't be bothered. She watches the love triangles, thunder tantrums, and wine orgies from the sidelines like a teacher grading a very disappointing group project. Athena is the first god you meet here who radiates actual competence. She builds cities, gives mortals the olive tree, invents a flute, and then discards it because she doesn't like how it makes her cheeks look. She helps heroes like Odysseus and Perseus, not by brute force, but by giving them a plan. Historians still argue whether Athena was Zeus's greatest mistake or his most useful accident. You watch her walk across the marble floors, calm and untouchable, while the rest of Olympus throws divine food and unresolved trauma at each other. She doesn't yell, she doesn't seduce, she thinks. And you realize she's the only god up here who seems to know that immortality without wisdom is just a very long disaster. You look at Zeus, still recovering from the cranial C-section. You look at Athena, sharpening a spear while solving an architectural crisis. And you think, born from a headache and yet still the sanest one in the room. You think after watching a goddess burst from someone's skull and a wine god get born from a thigh, Olympus might cool down a little, maybe take a break, do a divine yoga session, have some quiet time. No. Because just as Athena finishes drafting blueprints for a new mortal city-state, with perfect symmetry of course, you hear the rumble. Not thunder. Arguing. Loud, volcanic, high-stakes arguing. You follow the sound and walk straight into the Great Hall of Petty Fights, which is not its official name but should be. The gods are circling each other like schoolchildren with nukes. On one side, Apollo, Golden Boy, god of music, reason, healing, and being unbearably smug about it. On the other, Artemis, his twin sister, moon goddess, wilderness protector, and zero-tolerance feminist icon with a quiver full of arrows and zero patience for men with liars. In between, Hermes, referee by default, snacking on grapes and doing absolutely nothing helpful. Apparently, the argument began when Apollo insulted one of Artemis's mortal followers. Something about her falling in love and breaking her vow of chastity. Artemis responded by turning the girl into a tree. Apollo called that overreacting. Artemis called Apollo a tunic-wearing narcissist with daddy issue. Things escalated quickly. And it's not just the twins. Nearby, Hera is chewing out Zeus for forgetting their anniversary, which, frankly, is bold considering he also forgot several of their children's names. Aphrodite is fighting with Persephone over Adonis, yes, yet another beautiful boy who somehow ended up shared like divine Wi-Fi. Poseidon is trying to flood a temple because someone built a statue of Athena taller than his. You duck behind a pillar as Ares bursts in, shirtless, yelling something about honor while looking for someone to punch. Nobody takes him seriously. Apollo tells him to go flex at a mirror. Ares screams, stabs a pillar, and storms out to fight his own reflection. Then the earth shakes. Like, really shakes. Because this is what happens when gods fight. Their emotions aren't abstract. They're geological events. When they cry, it floods. When they shout, it thunders. When they have tantrums, civilizations crumble. You remember a tale a mortal once whispered, about a king who offended the gods by saying humans didn't need them anymore. That city? Gone. Buried under lava, ash, and a divine middle finger. Historians still argue whether those disasters were coincidences or full-blown divine hissy fits. But standing here, watching Ares try to suplex a statue while Artemis draws arrows made of moonlight, you no longer question it. These aren't just gods. They're immortal egos with elemental side effects. Even Hestia, goddess of the hearth and supposed symbol of peace, is passive-aggressively rearranging furniture with suspicious force. You watch her shove a golden couch with enough fury to dislocate a mortal's spine. All because someone moved her sacred fire 1 inch to the left. You realize there's no such thing as a calm day on Olympus. Because when nothing ever dies, no argument ever ends. There's no closure, no aging out, just centuries of silent glares, whispered insults, and lightning bolts sent via passive-aggressive pigeon. And yet, the world below still turns. Mortals keep praying, keep building temples, keep naming their children after these divine lunatics. Maybe because deep down, mortals know the truth. The gods are just like them, only louder, older, and way more dramatic. You lean back against a golden wall as a fresh argument erupts over who invented poetry, and for a brief moment, you feel it. This divine circus, this celestial mess, it's endlessly ridiculous, but also weirdly comforting. Because if even the gods can't figure out love, loyalty, or whose trident is bigger, then maybe we're all doing okay. It's late now, Olympus late, which doesn't mean midnight so much as the hour when even immortals start pretending to be tired just to avoid further social interaction. You wander past silent pillars and moonlit pools, feeling the weight of divine dysfunction settle into something oddly cozy. The halls are quieter. The drama has mostly moved to subtle glares and wine-heavy sighs. And that's when it hits you, no one ever dies up here. Not permanently, anyway. Sure, gods get hurt. They scream, fall, cry, bleed ichor, which by the way is shiny and dramatic and smells like regret mixed with myrrh, but they don't die. No funerals, no final chapters, no goodbyes, only until next myth, which means every grudge? Forever. You find Zeus brooding in a cloud armchair, sipping something golden and muttering about ungrateful children. Hera walks by, gives him a look sharp enough to decapitate a nymph, and keeps walking. They've had this fight 1,000 times. Neither wins, neither stops. Immortality has made them experts at circular arguments. Nearby, Apollo is playing a melancholy tune on his lyre. He's been doing that for hours, not because he's sad, but because he wants everyone to know he's artfully sad. Across the hall, Hermes is still wide awake, robbing the pantry and pretending to write poetry. Athena is reading by firelight, again. Eris is asleep, sword in hand, drooling into his war cape. Dionysus is passed out under a vine-covered couch, snoring like a drunken raccoon. And somewhere, in the echo of the wind, you can hear Artemis and Hestia debating whether mortals even deserve fire. It dawns on you that Olympus isn't really about power. It's about cycles. Endless flirtation, endless fights. Betrayal, forgiveness, repeat. Love triangle, try love geometries. Everything here is on loop, except boredom. That, apparently, is mortal. Mortals die, and in doing so, they let go. The gods? They just accumulate baggage like divine hoarders. You wonder if there's a storage room somewhere filled with unsent love letters, half-baked curses, and Ares' unwashed laundry. You step into a quiet chamber and find a mirror, smooth, silver, glowing faintly. And for the first time tonight, you see yourself. Not just your face, but your reflections in them. In Hera's righteous fury, in Athena's calculated distance, in Dionysus' desperate joy, in Zeus' need to be wanted, even if it means turning into a swan. You think about your own family, the arguments, the miscommunications, the uncle who always ruins dinner, the cousin who doesn't talk to anyone anymore, the grandmother who holds grudges in a drawer next to her rosary. And somehow it makes sense. Because Olympus isn't a fantasy. It's a mirror. The gods are messy, insecure, vengeful, loving, obsessive, jealous, brilliant, and stupid. Just like us. The only difference? They get away with it for eternity. You leave the mirror behind and head for the balcony. The stars are blinding, the air smells like storms and honey. Far below, the mortal world turns slowly, quiet, unaware, sleeping under myths they no longer understand. And you wonder, are we worse off for not being gods? Or better off because we eventually get to stop being us? The wind picks up on the edge of Olympus, soft, cool, woven with 1,000 old prayers. Some are whispered in languages long forgotten, others are little more than thoughts, drifting upward from below, wishes for love, for justice, for something to believe in. You close your eyes and let the breeze pass through you. It's almost quiet now. Behind you, the gods are still awake in their own way. Some are sprawled across chaise lounges like ancient memes refusing to fade. Others are debating philosophy over nectar, carefully avoiding eye contact with their past mistakes. Even the stars above seem to pulse with divine tension. But you're ready to leave. You've seen enough of Olympus to know the truth. Immortality doesn't make you better, it just gives you infinite time to double down on your worst habits. And yet, somehow, that doesn't make them less real. There's something heartbreakingly human about this divine family. Zeus, all-powerful but desperate to be loved in every form. Hera, fierce and loyal, but burning from centuries of disappointment. Athena, brilliant and precise, yet always one heartbeat away from total isolation. Dionysus, laughing so loudly no one hears him cry. Ares, ready to fight anyone except his own reflection. Hephaestus, building beautiful things in a world that never says thank you. Hades, dutiful and bitter, quietly carrying what no one else wants to feel. Aphrodite, worshipped for beauty but never truly seen. Even Hermes, eternal middleman, always running, never arriving. They're trapped in their own myths. Some written by mortals. Most written by themselves. You wonder for a second if that's the real curse of Olympus, not incest or war or divine drama, but the inability to change. To grow. To admit, just once, that maybe someone else was right. Because when you live forever, what's the rush? You take one last look over the balcony at the mortal world below, cities glowing like constellations, oceans shimmering like forgotten lullabies. You imagine the prayers still rising. Help me, forgive me, watch over her, make him come back, and you wonder how many ever get heard. Probably not all, but maybe enough. You walk back inside, past the bickering gods and sleeping legends. Ares snorts in his sleep, Athena turns a page, Aphrodite flips her hair and pretends not to be staring at her own statue. And Zeus? He's staring at a thundercloud like it said something rude. You smile. Not because they're perfect, but because they're so not perfect, they somehow make you feel better. If the gods can screw up this much and still get temples built in their name, then hey, maybe you're doing just fine. You find your place near the hearth, warmed by Hestia's eternal flame. It flickers softly, glowing with something quieter than power, something like peace. And as your eyelids grow heavy, the last thought that drifts across your mind is this: maybe Olympus wasn't built to be worshipped. Maybe it was built to remind us we're not alone. Word count 1097. Wind down 300 words. So now, as Olympus fades behind your eyes and your breath begins to slow, let go of the lightning, the liars, the golden scandal halls. Let go of the swan stories and the thunderous family arguments. Let go of the divine drama, the wars, the weddings, the weapons forged in heartbreak. Let your body soften like the clouds beneath a god's feet. Let your mind wander like Hermes, drifting between stories and silence. You've walked among immortals tonight. You've seen their tangled roots, their shattered egos, their moments of unexpected grace. And maybe, just maybe, you've seen a little bit of yourself in them too. Because every one of us carries a bit of Hera's rage or Dionysus's chaos. We've all craved love like Zeus. We've all craved silence like Hades. We've all been tricksters, dreamers, builders, destroyers, seekers, runaways, and protectors. So now, in the quiet that follows the myth, in the soft, sacred space between waking and dreaming, breathe. Just once, for yourself. Not for Olympus. Not for history, but for the human in you that feels. That wants to rest. That is finally allowed to. Good night, traveler.